guns, knives, and flamethrowers, just a few of the weapons named by an Idaho teenager in his alleged plot to attack churches in the name of ISIS. Today, he entered a plea in federal court.
If you could save one kid's life by passing a bill, I don't know why you wouldn't do it.
Plus, Spokane leaders say there is more that needs to be done to keep our kids safe online, but they need help from federal lawmakers.
We've got a few more clouds in the forecast starting tomorrow, but it comes with a bump in temperatures.
And I'm Mark Hanran here at the Rosars on the South Hill on 29th, talking all things the KREM Cares diaper drive for the next 2 weeks, trying to sell about 4,000 of these to provide local families with diapers and wipes.
Good evening and thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 News at 5. I'm Whitney Ward. Our top story tonight, the shocking arrest of an 18-year-old in Coeur d'Alene for allegedly planning terrorist attacks in the name of ISIS. Alexander Mercurio pleaded not guilty to providing material support to ISIS in a federal courtroom today. He is now set to go to trial at the end of May. KREM 2's Amanda Rowley was in court today when Mercurio entered his plea. She's live now in Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah, Whitney, although this hearing was mostly virtual today, the suspect did appear right here in person in court at federal court here in Coeur d'Alene. Now, during the hearing, the judge read the charge that he faces and the maximum penalty if he is convicted.
Alexander Mercurio was arrested over the weekend for allegedly planning to attack people at Coeur d'Alene churches on behalf of the terrorist group ISIS. Messages uncovered by the FBI show Mercurio allegedly planned to use weapons, including firearms, knives, and a flame sword to kill as many people as possible. An indictment filed in this case says Mercurio is charged with attempting to provide material support to a designated foreign terrorist organization. He pleaded not guilty to this and denied the criminal forfeiture allegation, which means he does not want the court to seize his property if convicted.
Well, certainly it was a great surprise.
Coeur d'Alene Mayor Jim Hammond says the 18-year-old's alleged plans are not tolerated in the community.
I think that anybody living in North Idaho would be crazy to think that they could get any sympathy from anybody else regarding ISIS or any support for any kind of similar organization.
Mayor Hammond is reassured, though, by the swift action law enforcement took before anyone got hurt.
I'm very appreciative that they caught him before he could cause any harm. And I do truly trust that they will do the same in terms of monitoring and being vigilant about any other dangers that we have within the community.
Court documents say Mercurio is facing a maximum penalty of up to 20 years in prison. He will now remain in U.S. Marshal custody pending the trial for this case.
Now, the trial is currently scheduled for May 28th, and at this point, all proceedings will remain here in Coeur d'Alene. Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Amanda, thank you. And as we work to bring you more to every story, I spoke with an expert in this type of homegrown extremism. Matt Kreiner works at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies. He is a regular consultant for the U.S. State Department, and he told me today that cases like the one in Coeur d'Alene are unfortunately more common than you might think.
The individual really represents a growing issue that we're facing in the United States. There's this increasing issue of radicalization after the COVID era when individuals were forced into their homes a lot more frequently than they would have been in the past. So they're consuming the internet and the weird parts of the internet, the things that get a little bit scary or a little bit risky.
Do you think that most people would be alarmed at how easily someone can kind of fall down this rabbit hole? So you can hear his answer to that question and more of our exclusive conversation today. That's coming up tonight on KREM 2 News at 6. Right now, the man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students is back in court after his defense team was accused of tainting potential jurors in a phone survey. Last week, Idaho prosecutors raised concerns about that survey, specifically concerns about the questions that it asked. However, the defense says it hired an outside company to conduct that survey and didn't know what questions were there. The judge is expected to make a decision today on the next steps. No trial date has been set yet, but it is expected to be pushed until next year. Another high-profile case that we are tracking tonight, the first witnesses taking the stand in the trial of Chad Debel. An Idaho man is accused of the deaths of his late wife and two of his current wife's kids. JJ and Tylee were found dead on Debel's property in 2020. Their mother, Lori Vallow, was found guilty on the same charges in the spring. Today started with opening statements, both sides essentially providing a roadmap to jurors about what they can expect to hear.
You'll hear about a pivotal date that set in motion the deaths of Tammy, Tylee, and JJ. October 26th, 2018.
Don't be distracted by speculation. Don't be distracted by guesses or assumptions or hunches. It all comes down to facts and evidence.
That trial is expected to last 8 to 10 weeks. Debel is facing the death penalty. We have a lot more news still ahead, but we want to switch gears now to talk weather. Pretty nice weekend in our future. Sunshine and possibly some temperatures at least getting close, maybe kissing the 70s. Jeremy?
Well, if you want the 70s, there are a few places you could go to make it happen, and you don't really have to go far from Spokane or Coeur d'Alene to do so. When it comes to our overall weather pattern, though, it gets a little cloudier before we get a little bit warmer. It's all related, though. It's always all related. That's how weather works. 57 degrees right now, a beautiful Wednesday afternoon. And boy, is there a big difference. I left town for 4 days. I got back and went, holy cow, the trees are budding, the bushes are blooming, everything is doing its thing. It is spring, but watch what happens as we zoom out. An overall shift in the weather pattern means, unfortunately, we're going to get the other end of our flat ridge. And that's all as our low from off to the north starts sliding its way in. So that thing moves to the south, and what it winds up doing is kind of squishing those clouds over and into us, but at the same time we get a southwesterly flow. What that means is more cloud cover both Thursday and Friday, maybe a little bit of moisture over on the west side if you're heading there, but overall it bumps our temperatures up. A southwesterly flow kicks us up into the 60s tomorrow, mid 60s on Friday, and near 70 by Saturday.
Looks beautiful. Jeremy, thank you. Amanda Knox, the Seattle woman convicted and later acquitted of her roommate's murder in Italy, is going back on trial again, this time for slander. That trial began today in Florence. The case centers around a slander conviction for wrongly accusing a bar owner of that 2007 murder. Amanda spent almost 4 years in an Italian prison before she was exonerated. Her lawyer says she is not expected in court for opening day. A UW football player is accused of raping 2 women during last year's championship season. 18-year-old Tylen Rogers, who also goes by Tybo, is now suspended from the team. According to court documents, he's accused of raping 1 woman on October 23rd and then a second woman sometime between Halloween and Thanksgiving. Rogers was arrested last week. He has since posted bail.